Am I doing things backwards? Yes I am. But that's nothing new for me really. So, after my Dying Light 2 video and the debates and the positive support I got for it, I figured why not? I might as well go back and play the game that actually started it all, Dying Light. Before we get into this, let me give you a quick breakdown of what you can expect. The first section of this video will be a quick revision of the main story, and then the following DLC that continued that story. After a quick recap, I'll be breaking down the story, then going into the characters and breaking down their psychology and why they work or why they don't work as a character. Then after this section, I'll be going into the pros of the game, as well as some of the cons. And there might be a few surprises as we go, it really just depends on how everything flows. So, before we get into the story, I just want to say, if you don't want to watch the story recap, I'll be putting a timestamp on the screen right now. I'll also be trying to keep this recap as quickly as possible. The timestamp that is on the screen at this very moment, that is for the end of the main story. I'll be trying to keep this breakdown as simple as possible. It'll also be a little bit tricky because there is quite a lot to go through, so I'll be skimming through a lot of bits and pieces with the recap, just to try and streamline it for you. I did hear your comments from the last video, so this will be a very brief breakdown and kind of just a refresher. This section will still be a little long though. So I'll put up some timestamps now for you on the screen so you can kind of go to where you want to go. The first timestamp that you can see above, that is for the end of the main story, and then the second one below is at the end of the following DLC, where we then go into just the analysis side of things. And just before we jump into it, if you enjoy this video, why not like and subscribe? Helps me out, gives me a little bit of motivation, you know, that whole basic YouTuber thing. Anyways, let's get into it. The main campaign starts with us inside a plane, one that is very military looking, and speaking of the military, we soon discover that we're being sent on a mission. Our main character is named Kyle Crane. Instead of me explaining it all, I'll let the woman from the GRE give us a quick briefing.
HUD activated. Commence briefing.
Approaching Harran.
Data on the subject, Kadir Suleiman, a local political figure hired to maintain order after the outbreak. His brother Hassan died in a disease-related incident before we were able to evacuate him. Suleiman blamed the GRE for Hassan's death. He stole a highly sensitive file which became his bargaining chip against the GRE, with instructions to publicize it if anything happened to him. Data on the subject. The stolen file.
Jump in 10 seconds.
It details the incomplete process of synthesizing a cure for the virus. If implemented in its current state, the produced substance may be extremely toxic.
Now.
Also, the file contains full description of the virion's structure. Any attempt to use it would result in countless lives lost. It must be recovered. Further information. Current status. Suleiman sent the file to an associate unknown to us, with instructions to publicize it at his command at any time. To counter that, we instituted a citywide communication jam, preventing him from publicizing the file. Your GRE-issued radio can overcome that jamming. It is your lifeline. Do not lose it. Suleiman has since gone underground and begun using a different name. We have reason to believe he now leads one of the two main factions operating within the city. You are to find Suleiman and locate the stolen file in order to save mankind from a disaster of unprecedented proportions.
After our briefing in the sky, we run into some of the locals. They aren't super friendly. Crane gets a hickey from an adoring fan, and after being rescued, we experience one of the many deaths we'll experience in the story.
We have to move!
Let's get him off the street!
Get the door open!
Tower, this is Jade. Get sickbay ready. Got a guy with a bad head wound and a bite on one arm.
Oh shit, Amir's hurt?
No, Amir is gone. But I'm bringing in someone who might still survive.
One of us?
We'll see.
When Crane awakens, he learns that he's inside a civilian base, called the Tower. He walks in on a woman known as Jade who is talking to her younger brother. She's having a go at her brother for a plan involving explosives. He is dismissive of this. After that awkward moment, Crane apologizes to Jade about Amir, the man who died, and she mentions he can repay her by keeping her brother alive. We then talk to her said brother named Rahim, who says he wants to give us a quick crash course on how to travel around the city, by throwing himself off a literal crane. After learning the basics of parkour, Crane has his first seizure. Turns out getting bitten isn't good for you, so he has to take some antizin. So he then goes and meets a doctor named Zahir, who explains the virus has no cure and that it's a variant of rabies. He mentions how he is working with another doctor in Sector 0 to try and create a cure, Dr. Camden. Crane leaves after this conversation and gets in contact with the woman from the beginning of the game from the GRE. She mentions how Crane should keep an eye on the doctor, but they doubt that he'll actually be able to make a cure. After all of this, Crane would finally get to meet the main leader of the tower, a man known as Brecken. He's a little hurt as he got injured while on a run trying to find some more antizin for the people in the tower.
Maybe one more try before we go to Rais. Yeah, okay, fine. Good luck, Crane.
I'm pretty sure that's meant to be an Australian accent, but the voice actor is British. However, I do appreciate the nod to my country nonetheless. Also, it's a very on-brand thing for an Australian to head to a third world country to start a new life. I don't know why we do it. Anyways, Crane eventually volunteers to take on the mission, to prove himself to the group and most importantly, gain their trust. He would make his way to an airdrop and find a crate full of antizin. However, before taking it back to the tower, he makes a call.
Crane here. I'm about to recover an antizin drop.
Good, Crane. This offers us a new strategy. Time to turn your attention to Rais. Listen closely. It's very possible that Rais is our man. So if you find an airdrop containing antizin, destroy it.
What? Why?
It will force interaction with Rais. You can go under Brecken's auspices as an ambassador, if you will.
But there are civilians depending on this stuff.
Our plan is focused on the greater good. Remember that.
So, with that, Crane makes the call to burn the crates, gambling the lives of the people in the tower so that he can go and meet Rais. After Crane meets a volatile and runs for his life, he then goes back to the tower, in which he goes and breaks the bad news to the people living there. They eventually agree to let Crane go and barter for the antizin with Rais. A quick hop and a skip across the city, we get to meet Rais for the very first time, and he does not disappoint. We get stopped by his bodyguard Tahir and watch as he takes a man's hand. He tells Crane that he will need to do some favors for him if he wishes to get the antizin. After this meeting, Crane would then get back in contact with the GRE who tell him to do whatever Rais says. So, begrudgingly, Crane helps. He has to go and set up 2 antennas and get them up and running. This will allow people within Harran to communicate to each other via radio. However, of course, this wasn't the only job Rais had for Crane. He also sent him out to collect protection money. Due to this, we get the first hint that Crane is starting to question his actions when he does his regular update with the GRE. After all of this, Crane would go and try and collect what he is owed, which is very short of what he was expecting. Crane argues and then is given a proposition.
Ah, the tower lackey returns. Do you have something for me, friend?
Yes, I do. Now it's time for you to give me what you promised. 2 crates of antizin.
I think not. Your loyalty to the tower is nothing but blind obedience, Crane. A coward's submission to false hierarchies. You follow their rules as thoughtlessly as you follow mine, like a good little dog.
Look, we had a deal.
Your people need the antizin. Now, more than ever, I would surmise. But a man who follows someone else's rules is no man at all. Here, I will allow you this much.
You promised me 2 crates of it. This is only 5 vials.
If you want more, I present you with an opportunity. The athlete, the Scorpion, Jade Aldemir. She's one of your number. Bring her to me. I have an arena where men fight for our amusement. I would have this Scorpion fight for us. I'm curious how long it will take for someone of her caliber to break.
What? No, forget it, I'm not doing it.
I hear no true conviction in your voice, Crane. You have not yet made your choice, I can tell. Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man and save the maiden? Go and think about it.
This would lead him to contacting the GRE once again. The call gets more heated this time.
Report.
I'm no longer cooperating with Rais. He wanted me to kidnap Jade Aldemir and dump her with him so he can make her fight in his pit.
Yes, and? Was that it?
What do you mean, was that it? I'm not a fucking human trafficker.
You seem to have forgotten how much is riding on this file, Crane. If Rais wants one girl, then give her to him. You'll be there to keep an eye on her, won't you?
What the fuck kind of humanitarian outfit are you guys? And for that matter, if this project file can save the world, why keep it a fucking secret?
We're not paying you to be insubordinate, Crane. Get this done.
When Crane returns to the tower, Brecken informs him, in a very calm demeanor, that they have stopped the antizin drops. He also has a bit of a breakdown.
This is where we get the announcements about the antizin drops. And they've just stopped.
There were kids in there!
I froze. Lena had to step up. Maybe she should be in charge. What the fuck, Crane? I'm no leader. I'm a goddamn parkour instructor.
This will get Crane second-guessing his decision and lead to him heading to the roof to try and get the GRE to start up the antizin drops once again. But once up there, he runs into Rahim, who has been drinking quite a bit. Rahim mentions his plan of blowing up the volatile nest nearby. However, he doesn't have enough explosives to do it. During his rant, he makes Crane promise that if they do find explosives, that they will go and actually do his plan. Which Crane does agree with. He'd eventually leave Rahim to make the call, where he tries to get them to restart the drops.
This is Crane, do you copy?
What do you want, Crane?
I want you to start the antizin drops again, at least near the tower. These people need help.
We put you in Harran to find our file, not to play Mother Teresa. Or does this mean you've reconsidered Rice's proposal? Perhaps Miss Aldemir would even be willing to cooperate, test her skills in a new environment.
You start giving us some antizin and then we'll talk about what Rais wants.
Oh, it's us now, is it? Well, I'm afraid your request is out of the question in any case. Things have gotten a bit strained with the Ministry. Resuming the airdrops would not be politically advantageous at the moment.
You assholes take the fucking cake, you know that? You and your fucking file. Look, I'll locate the file for you, but I'm gonna take a good long look at it before I decide what to do about it.
After that not-so-great success, he goes and meets up with Jade, who has a lead on where Rais might be storing some antizin. They sneak up and watch as Tahir takes out some civilians who try to run for their lives. They don't get very far. They work their way into the school and find what Rais has been hiding, plastic explosives. After this discovery, we then head back to the tower, which excites Rahim quite a bit. However, Crane breaks the news that Rahim won't be on the mission to blow up the nest. And, well, he doesn't take it too well.
Kid, that was a lucky find. Would've been better to turn up some antizin, though.
My buddy Omar's making sure Saeed's putting good timers on those things. We have to be able to get our asses out of there before they blow.
Whoa, we? There's no we in this. I mean, yeah, that nest needs to go, and now it's possible, but if it gets done, I'm doing it on my own.
But it's my plan.
And I will execute it perfectly, I promise.
But... ah, shit. There's no use arguing with you, is there? Fine. I'll contact you as soon as Saeed's finished with the charges.
Rahim, do we have a deal?
I guess.
Do we have a deal?
Yes. We have a deal.
Okay.
Sometime later, after Crane helps Dr. Zahir, he gets a frantic call. Rahim went off on his own to blow up the nest, and it had gone poorly. His friend had died, and he had gotten himself trapped in a train cart. So Crane had to go and rescue him. Eventually, when he finds Rahim's hiding spot, he has to kind of rush, as the timer on the bomb has already started, as Rahim thought he wasn't going to survive, so he wanted to take a bunch of them out with him. So Crane, full of adrenaline most likely, climbed the tower, planted the explosives, and made it out. All that was left was to go back and help Raheem.
Oh, you should have seen it. Oh, God. The whole damn building came down. Oh, shit. No, Raheem, stop. Raheem, it's me. It's me, kid. It's Crane. Oh, Jesus. Raheem, stop. That's a fucking bite wound. You goddamn stupid fucking kid! Oh, God. Jade.
After that tragic moment, Crane would head back to the tower to try and inform Brecken on how everything went. However, Jade overhears and is disgusted and feels betrayed, so she leaves. Crane doesn't really have a chance to chase after her though, as the tower is under attack by Rice's men. They are after Dr. Sahir, and they succeed at abducting him. Crane then would head into Rice's tower to find the good old doctor. He works his way through the building, getting into gunfights along the way. He also tries to reach the GRE, however, someone else answers this time.
Crane here. I could really use some GRE support right now.
That's too bad.
No.
That's too bad, Agent Crane. This is the Ministry of Defense.
The fuck? What the hell's going on? What happened to the GRE?
The global relief effort's position here has been diminished. We are in charge now, and we have declared Harran a Code 1 target zone.
Wait. Just hang on. You can't just carpet bomb this place. There are still hundreds of innocent people in here. Maybe thousands.
Irrelevant. We're doing this to protect billions of lives. Surely you can understand that.
Okay, just listen. There's this scientist in here named Zera, and he's been doing research on a cure, and he's really close. I've seen the research. If you bomb the city, just...
Acknowledged. The chances of one scientist in a wrecked city coming up with useful results are negligible at best, but... You have 48 hours.
He eventually would find the doctor, however, Rice's men were waiting for him.
Who's there?
Relax, Doc. It's me.
Crane. Thank God. Listen, this is important. I'm not safe anymore, obviously. But my research must not die with me.
You're not gonna die, Doc, but right now we have to get out of here. So please, lower your voice.
Oh, yes. All right. But understand, my research, it must reach Dr. Camden. That's why I gave the packages to Jade. I know you said you would deliver them, but she was there, and time being of the essence.
Doc?
So, it takes no more than a false hope of rescue to loosen the good doctor's lips. Hunt the Scorpion down, spare no resource.
With pleasure. And these two? What should we do with them?
You'll never find her. Never. And I'll never talk. You'll get nothing from me.
I am less concerned with making you talk, Doctor, than I am in preventing your escape.
Sadistic fuck, he's an old man.
Give the doctor some first aid. And take Crane to the beat.
Crane then must fight in the arena, clearing out the infected. He's being used for entertainment. Against all the odds, Crane survives and ends up having another face-off with Rice.
Doc, come on, let's get you out of here.
Crane, save these people. They don't deserve all of this.
You, give me that torch.
Sadly, during this moment, the doctor dies and Crane must escape. After escaping, he tries to work his way back to the tower, however his infection flares up. He isn't able to make it back on his own, but luckily some people from the tower find him. When he regains consciousness, he's being hidden as he is currently the most wanted man in Harran, right next to Dr. Camden, who has been found by Rice's men. However, Camden managed to lock down his lab and get a bunch of infected to swarm the building, so it was nearly impossible to reach him. Brecken then lets Crane know that there are some people who can actually smuggle him into Sector 0 where Dr. Camden is located. Crane meets up with the smugglers who seem sketchy, but that's no surprise considering their occupation. They send him to the sewers where he then must work his way through. Of course, at the halfway point, Crane is betrayed, and Rice's men are waiting for him. Despite this though, Crane makes his way all the way to Sector 0. Being in a new area, Crane needs to make some new contacts. This is when he meets the people living in the loft, also known as the Two Towers with Scaffolding. He heads there and talks to a woman named Troy, the leader of this group. He instantly asks about Jade, and Troy has no problem reaching out to her.
Jade, this is Troy. Do you copy?
Go ahead, Troy.
Jade, hey, it's Crane. Now, I know you're headed for Dr. Camden, but his clinic's surrounded by zombies and Rice's thugs, so just let me come and help you.
Crane, stay away from me. I hear your voice, and all I can see is my brother.
Please, just hear me out, okay? Look, the thing is, the GRE hired me, all right? I was supposed to find out where Rais sent this classified file, but that doesn't matter anymore because the Ministry contacted me. Jade, they were going to firebomb the city, but I talked them into waiting because they want that research that you're carrying. Now we need to figure out some way to let them know that we've got it.
You bastard!
Jade!
This leads to Crane hunting her down to another outpost. However, he just misses her. He eventually would return to the loft, where he then watches a broadcast of the news from the outside of the walls, and it isn't great.
No matter how many times I watch it, I still can't believe it.
An internal global relief effort document surfaced today that, if verified, implicates the GRE in a far-reaching criminal conspiracy. Instead of trying to find a cure for the Harran virus, according to the file, the GRE had plans to weaponize it and sell it to the highest bidder. Worldwide backlash has...
No, skip to the important bit.
I was the last survivor left in the quarantine. I can't believe I made it out. I can't believe I'm still alive.
We mourn all those who didn't survive, but as the President said in a speech here earlier today, life is for the living. Military troops have searched for survivors all over the quarantine, but now there's no one left besides the infected. According to Colonel Tanner, once his decontamination process is finished, the infection will be completely obliterated.
The Ministry did this. They're making their excuses to the rest of the world for destroying a city.
Luckily, the people in the loft have a plan. They believe that they can set up explosives in the tower in a distinct pattern that couldn't be dismissed as a random explosion. So Crane goes and sets up the bombs in the tower, and it is a massive success. So much so that Jade decides that she can trust him, even if he lied about who he was in the beginning. So, a happy ending. The world knows people are alive within the city, Jade forgives Crane, and they live happily ever after.
Crane, we see it. Great job.
Thanks, I hope it's enough. You had any contact with Jade?
Crane.
Jade, is that you?
Crane, I heard what you did. I see what you did.
So, do you believe me now that I'm on your side? Sons of bitches!
Oh. Well, that didn't work, so time to regroup with Jade and make a new plan.
Troy, this is Crane. Rais has taken Jade. He has her in some museum somewhere. Do you know what he's talking about?
Museum, yes. Rais is using it as his headquarters. Crane, you can't go there. That place was built as a fortress. You'd be walking into a massive trap.
No, it's not subtle enough to be a trap. There's gotta be a way to sneak in, right? I mean, some way to surprise him?
Oh. Well, Jade was abducted by Rais. I guess things didn't work out after all. Crane then would go to the museum where Jade is being held prisoner. He swims underneath the museum, working his way all the way to where Jade is being held. Once he arrives, obviously a fight breaks out, and he must fight his way all the way through the museum. Eventually, he would make it to where Jade is. However, there is a problem. She was bitten. This is where Rais pushes for Crane to make a decision, whether to save her life in exchange for his, as his antizin is also wearing off. He doesn't get to make that decision though. As the virus starts to destroy his mind, he sees hallucinations while Jade talks to him. She tells him that she forgives him and she wants her life to mean something. And once Crane finally comes to, he realizes.
Jade, what was that? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to...
One of us has to live, Kyle. You just remember what you promised me.
All of this, and still you had your choice made for you. Disappointing, Crane. You, and you! Get in there and kill them! It's the natural order of things, Crane. Kill or be killed. Eat or be eaten.
With the death of Jade, Crane must fight Tahir and some of his men. He survives the conflict and says his final goodbye to Tahir.
Look at that. Jade lost her life for this thing. It's just lying on the floor. I guess Rais must have dropped it when he was trying not to get shot, huh? Shit, this is just the tissue samples. Where's the other package?
Go to hell, Crane.
Wow, Tahir. You know, you're looking pretty fucked up, huh? Yeah, those don't look like the kinds of wounds you recover from.
So, then kill me.
No, I shouldn't. I should just leave you here to suffer. That's what you deserve.
Yes? Then why don't you?
Because you're not the kind of loose end you leave untied.
He would then escape and inform Troy about what happened, but he doesn't have time to grieve. He has to find a way to signal the outside world. The people in the loft come up with one last plan, to hijack a radio tower that should be able to reach the outside world. Crane would then work his way there, fighting the undead in the process. He would get the tower up and running, and afterwards he would climb all the way up to the top to make his announcement to whoever could hear him.
Anyone who can hear me, please listen. My name is Kyle Crane, and I'm sending this message from inside the Harran quarantine. Colonel Tanner and the Ministry of Defense have lied to you. There are still survivors inside the walls. They plan to firebomb Harran, but if those bombs drop, you will know Tanner and the Ministry are cold-blooded murderers.
Holy shit! There's someone alive in the quarantine zone? Hey, do you copy? Do you copy? It's Walters! I knew it!
That was too close.
Crane, is that you? Do you copy?
How the hell do you want?
We want to offer you a chance to get out of that horrible place.
Oh yeah? And why would you do that? I never found out who had your precious file. You don't even have to pay the rest of my fee.
Water under the bridge, Kyle. We're best off just to move past that. All you need to do is to bring Dr. Zara's research with you, and we'll send a nice, safe helicopter to extract
You realize I know what was in the file. I knew you were going to exploit the virus.
Crane!
Oh my god. You need the cure now for spin, don't you? That's the only way you could get out of this. Try to convince everyone you were working toward a cure the whole time.
Don't be ridiculous. Bring us the research, and everything will be fine.
You want the research? Just fucking wait for my signal.
After the success, Crane would go towards Dr. Camden to try and get Zahir's research to him. However, the facility is still in lockdown. Luckily though, with the help of the doctor, he makes it all the way through. Once he reaches the doctor, he reveals that the samples Crane took could potentially make a cure. However, the rest of the research that Zahir did would be a great help. However, it is with Rais. Another problem is for the fact that Rais has made a deal with the GRE. He plans to give them the research in exchange for a lift out of the city. Crane ultimately decides that this cannot happen, so he heads to the construction site to stop Rais. Rais, of course, was waiting for Crane. He didn't want to leave the city until he knew that Crane was taken care of. Crane eventually would head up the tower, however he would have to deal with many traps along the way. He would have to run from volatiles through the sewers, as well as normal infected. While heading up the tower, he would then run into an old friend, Kareem, one of Rice's men who had a few interactions with Kyle Crane and actually helped him throughout the story a little. He is left dying, but before he goes, he warns Crane that the next 2 levels have a bunch of mines on them, and he warns him that he should probably go to the building next door, climb all the way up, and then come back across. Once he makes it to the top, he has a standoff with Rais, which gets intense, especially as Crane now has a knife in his shoulder. After a few quick-time events, Crane eventually comes out on top, and I reckon I'll just let the final scene play out.
I will teach you, Crane. You will suffer alongside me. Yes, go on. You cannot resist. Do it, I won't fight you. Just as you killed Tahir. Do it!
Fuck you, asshole. You want me to make my own rules? Rule number 1. You're gonna spend the rest of your goddamn life in fucking agony.
Do not leave me like this, Crane. Prove you are a man. Take your vengeance.
You just shut the fuck up!
In Harran. This wound would have killed me. But now you dangle on the edge of life and death. While the GRE wait to take me to a hospital. I give you the honor of deciding your own fate. Hand me the disc, so that there is at least a chance that Harran might live. And I will make your death painless. Or resist, and doom the city along with you. You have until the count of 5. 1, 2.
All right. Here. Let's ask for a decision, asshole. I can think of a lot of reasons to tell you to go fuck yourself, but why don't we just pretend for a minute that you don't think I'm stupid? You need the cure. It's here, in the city, somewhere. And as long as it is, you won't try to pull any ministry-style bullshit.
Crane, why do you even give a fuck what happens to these people? You don't belong here. This is just a job for you.
No, not anymore, it's not. I'll be in touch when I've decided what to do next. Yeah, Doc, I hear you. What's going on?
The analysis just finished on the tissue samples. The results are... well, I don't think the word phenomenal is too strong. Crane, if you can recover Zara's data, I'm certain a cure is within reach.
All right. Hey, we'll talk about it next time I see you.
This is Rais speaking. Get to the nearest safe house and wait until dawn. Good night, and good luck.
And that was the ending of Dying Light. However, this won't be the end of Crane's story. This is to be continued in the DLC.
Don't make me.
You said he talked about magic and... what? Domesticated zombies?
He talked about a group of people who don't get infected, even if they're bitten.
Well, delirious people will say anything.
He was holding this map when we brought him in.
Whoa. This looks like...
a way out of Harran. Crane, we are running out of antizin. We have to explore every possibility. We can't wait any longer.
Stay away! Stay away! You don't understand. The mother...
The following DLC starts with Crane getting out of the main city to the lovely coast as he's trying to find a cure for the infection, as the people in the tower are starting to run out of antizin. After some cliff diving, he makes his way to a town, where the inhabitants aren't super happy to see him. He then meets the leader, who wants nothing to do with him. However, his daughter mentions that if Crane helps them out, her father might actually agree to be more forthcoming. Crane also gets to meet a sketchy arms dealer, who is probably the most normal person there, so that's saying something. He sends Crane in the direction of a buggy, which will allow him to travel the lands a lot easier. Crane then goes and slaughters the bandits guarding the buggy, and then just dips. When he returns, the arms dealer is gone, but everyone is pretty happy about that. After helping the locals some more, Crane learns a bit about the Faceless.
Yazir, in Harran, we're running out of antizin. I'm looking for anything that could save my friends. If you have anything...
Yes, stranger, we do. We have our faith and our prayers to the Mother.
Faith? Okay, I mean no disrespect, but you're telling me that prayers keep you from turning?
That's your problem. You lack faith, just like the other outsiders. We believe in the Mother, and she protects us. We have no need of antizin, or whatever you said.
Okay, well, is there any way I could maybe speak with this Mother?
She is sacred. She speaks only with those known as the Faceless. But maybe you could get them to notice you. If you do enough good for our community.
At this point, I'll take anything. So what kind of good are you looking for? What needs to be done around here?
You're serious about this? All right then. Me, I take care of this farm. And my friend Bilal keeps the gas station near town safe. Look around. You'll find more work than any one man could handle.
The Faceless are members of basically a cult, and they're the ones who have developed some form of immunity to the virus. So this would be his mission, to help the people of the countryside to work his way into a cult. Which is what Crane does. However, instead of talking about all the side content, I'm just going to be talking about the main missions dealing with the Children of the Sun. We get to see the first glimpse of their abilities when we help the Children of the Sun restore electricity to the dam. There's just a guy standing there, and the undead are not approaching at all. This doesn't last forever though, as the guy eventually gets ripped apart. Sometime later, Crane gets invited to their meeting, where he starts to hallucinate.
Khan? What the hell did they do to you?
I have been shown the error of my ways. They have opened my eyes to the truth, to the light.
Holy shit. Talk about drinking the Kool-Aid.
Mother is good. Mother is grace. Mother is light.
Mother, blessed by the sun, we praise you.
Blessed by the sun, we praise you.
Mother, embraced by the wind, we trust you.
Mother, embraced chased by the wind. We trust you.
Mother, radiant with grace, come to us.
Mother, radiant with grace, come to us. Mother is good.
Children of the sun, accept the mother's gift and stay true to her path.
Mother will help us. Mother is good. Mother is light. Mother will help us. Mother is
For your suffering, the mother thanks you.
What is this?
Remain true to the path, stranger, for it has only just begun.
What's happening to me?
Accept me.
Oh, this can't be happening.
You are a gift.
Can't be.
Your destiny and mine are intertwined.
Oh, this can't be happening. Can't be.
Believe in me, Kyle, as I believe in you.
Who are you?
After this, Crane is sent out to find a missing member of the cult, as well as their magical cure. When Crane arrives where they were last located, it is revealed that one of them is dead, and the other one is missing, and the cure is also gone. It is also revealed that Rice's men are there as well, and they're the ones who caused all of this. After this revelation, Crane is then sent out to help a man dying from cancer to finish his work for the mother. The man isn't too keen, but Crane eventually decides to help him by finding some cave paintings. Crane has no issues completing this objective, and he even finds a rare red mask. When he returns, he gives the mask to the old man and then leaves him to do his work. However, sometime later, it's revealed that the man was a little unhinged.
Hey, it's Kyle Crane. I'm at Attila's house.
What's Attila's condition, Crane? Speak.
He slit his own throat. He put the mask on and killed himself.
Mask? What mask?
An old red mask I found at the Temple of the Sun.
That old fool used you, Crane.
What? How?
To find this mask. We know all about it. That wasn't his task, Crane. Attila was deadly sick. There was a cancer eating his brain. He must have become convinced that if he put this mask on and slit his throat, the god of the sun would manifest and possess his body.
But why? Why would he get that in his head?
And he shall pass through the gates of death, so that he may bring new life. Attila interpreted that to mean suicide, an error that cost him his life.
The followers of the Sun would then get a lead on those missing chemicals that Rice's men stole, as well as their missing man. Crane, being the badass that he is, then heads to the construction site where Rice's men are camped out. He would have no issues fighting through Rice's men, even the ones with a little bit of armor. And just like that, Kyle Crane comes out on top again. Oh, well, that's not good.
Holy fuck. Orkin.
Kyle. Is that you?
Yes, I'll try to help you.
No. Just listen. They're following us. Wanted the cure. Didn't know how to open. So asked about Mother. I told them nothing.
Don't talk, save your energy. I'll get you out of here.
Lighthouse. Lighthouse.
With the death of the follower, Crane heads to the lighthouse where the chemicals are rumored to be, and he runs into an old friend, the man who sent Crane towards the buggy, Khan.
Oh shit, it's you. Damn, I could have killed you.
Khan?
Yeah, it's me, so turn me loose. Hey, what the fuck?
It was you. You're working with Rice's bandits? Where is it, you son of a bitch? Where the hell is the cure?
What? You're crazy.
Don't fuck with me, Khan. Where is it?
Look, I just live here, all right? I don't know shit about working with bandits.
Boss, you there?
Who's speaking?
Chief, there you are. Okay, listen. Harran and his group are going after the mother, but some wise ass took out the granary, and we need to hunt him down. We're waiting by your crib. Coming?
No need, pal. Just keep your eye on the balcony.
Wait!
What the hell? Boss!
Wait! Listen, I know I went way overboard, but they forced me, they made me do it!
It's Crane! Crane's there!
Hawkins group! Where are they heading? Tell me!
To the dam! Debris said the entrance was in the dam! Please!
I'm fucking done with you.
Thank you! Oh, now!
Stop! What the fuck are you doing?
The bandits aren't too happy about everything that's going on, so they're going after the mother, the leader of the cult, and her people. Crane races over, and when he arrives, he sees that all are dead, except for the mother. We get to meet her for the first time, and well, she really needs to trim her nails.
I awoke, down there, surrounded by the remains of the people who had trusted me. It was because of the light. Someone finally turned the power back on, and the light brought me back. You see, breathing the fumes is one thing, but drinking the liquid is something else entirely. In the light, in the sun, my mind is my own. I'm filled with love you couldn't possibly imagine. But in the dark, my new nature dominates. Mindless, lethal. In the dark, with cruel passion, I ripped my own children to pieces. But I swore to myself that I would become the mother they really deserve. And now, you have come, Kyle. And every sign tells me you're the one I've been waiting for. It's in the prophecy, Kyle. Then shall be revealed one man who, through an act of ultimate sacrifice, shall accept the mercy of the light. And the God of the sun shall be revealed through him. And through him will he speak.
I just need that medicine to save my friends.
Look at my face. There is no medicine. You want mankind to become what I am? Listen to my voice. Beautiful evolution indeed. Minds and souls connected in a telepathic bond. How poetic. Look at me. And when the darkness comes, what then? More death, more killing. You can hide from others, but who will hide them from you?
But we don't have to drink it with just the mist.
It doesn't matter. Just listen. You've been breathing the mist. It will take longer, but you're already changing into a monster such as myself.
No, wait. Listen.
Army built a failsafe into their experiment. This entire region can be purified. The question is, are you ready to sacrifice thousands of lives, Kyle? Yours among them?
Are you crazy? I won't play your god of the sun. I want no part in this bullshit. Just let me take the vials and go.
Maybe you'll understand when you see it with my eyes. How narcissistic. You, the god of the sun himself. I'll show you who you really are.
No!
Drink.
No, goddammit! You fucking monster!
I may not be you, but my love for humanity fills me. A love which you defy. And you know that a love rejected turns to anger. An anger you will bear, Kyle Crane. I will make you pay for all those
Crane apparently has never heard the saying, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," and without this warning, Crane proceeds to get thrown around and a bit messed up. The fight eventually goes from weapons to hand-to-hand combat as the infection progresses further through Crane's body. The fight is brutal, and the mother has the advantage. Eventually, the fight does come to an end, and Crane will escape and work his way to freedom.
First, I'll kill you, bitch. And save my friends, and you can rot in hell. What's happening to me?
You'll see for yourself.
I killed you. I fucking killed you.
This is a poison.
It's not a poison. It's a cure. Lena, I'm coming back with the medicine. We'll be able to help everyone. Tell Camden that he has all the time. He has all the time in the world now. No, tell him we have a new lead. We have a better one. Where am I? What's going on?
Okay, analysis time. Let's talk about the story a bit, shall we? Let's break down the themes and main messages of Dying Light. At its core, the game brings up the question of what is right and what is wrong. Dying Light explores the idea of a world overrun by chaos and death. Right and wrong no longer exist in black and white terms. Crane enters Harran with a clear mission and a supposed sense of moral duty: to do his job, retrieve the data, and leave. But as he gets closer to the people of Harran, the lines begin to blur. The game questions whether morality is fixed or shaped by circumstances. The game shows us how quickly one's moral code may collapse against real human suffering. Talking about moral collapse, the game also talks about dehumanization. The infected are literal symbols of dehumanization, but the game extends this metaphor to Crane and the survivors. Everyone is slowly becoming something less human, either through infection, trauma, or moral decay. Rais, the villain, is a reflection of what people become when they stop valuing human life. What does it mean to survive if you lose your humanity in the process? The game wrestles with this in both large and small ways, whether this be through betrayals, hard choices, and even Crane's slow transformation from an outsider to an insider, and sadly, a monster. The story repeatedly focuses on Crane and the player to confront the cost of survival. Sacrifices are made repeatedly, often with tragic consequences. People die, cures are lost, and hopes fade. The game brings up the question of what is worth sacrificing. Are the lives of the few worth saving the many? Jade gives her life to save everyone, but the game also shows you that sometimes that sacrifice doesn't pay off. Everyone who gives their lives in Dying Light to help people, ultimately it was for nothing, as we see in Dying Light 2. It gets even darker than that in the main DLC. Crane tries to do the right thing, again, but no matter what he does, he loses. He becomes the monster, or dies in the process, taking innocent lives with him. It's tragic fatalism. that even good intentions can't save you in a broken world. Crane's arc shows us that there is limits to heroism. He tries to be a hero, but the world punishes him for it. Ultimately, Dying Light is about the human struggle for meaning in the face of hopelessness. Crane's journey is less about saving the world and more about finding his own identity and values within it. It poses difficult questions without clean answers. Can you stay human when everything around you is inhuman? Do you follow orders or your conscience? And at what point does saving people stop being heroic and starts being delusional?
I'm shouting because this fucked up infected motherfucker with guts hanging out of his mouth just spit a bunch of toxic snot at me.
Not a bad reason.
Okay, let's talk about the characters a bit, shall we? Let's break down a little bit of their psychology, what makes them tick, and what they kind of represent within the story. When we meet Crane, he embodies what I like to call the good soldier stereotype, and he isn't necessarily a good man either. He is very objective, willing to do what it takes to get the job done, even if it involves putting others in danger. However, as he grows attached to the people in Harran, his good soldier act starts to fall apart. All of this can be contributed to Jade and her brother, as they were the two who were able to get closest to him. They broke his defenses down, and in return, his objectiveness collapsed as well. This can be seen when Crane has the option to sacrifice Jade for the Antizin. Objectively, this shouldn't be a hard decision. Giving Jade up would allow Crane to get more Antizin for the people within the tower, and also allow him to get closer to Rais. This obviously wouldn't have worked, as Rais was listening in on Crane's radio calls with the GRE, but he didn't know this at the time. Crane's decision to not turn Jade in without her consent was the point in which he had become too attached. He started to care for the people in the city. There are only two deaths that really bothered him, the first being Rahim's death. During the game, he sort of becomes a younger brother to Crane, even though he doesn't actually have too many on-screen appearances. Crane's reaction to his death is one of anger and frustration. The reason for this is that his death was preventable, and Crane felt a personal responsibility to look after the kid. This death did upset him, but I believe the one that truly got to him was Jade's. When Jade died, Crane's most prominent emotion was just sadness. He didn't scream or shout, he just held her, and his reaction is one of love. They may never had a romantic relationship, but it's safe to say that Crane did love her in some way. I mean, he spent half the game trying to find her and apologize for lying. I believe her making Crane promise to make her death mean something is the ultimate reason he stays behind. Jade loves her people, and because Crane loved Jade, he grew to love the people of Harran as well. Crane is very much a no-nonsense man. He is direct when it comes to most things. This can be seen when he constantly tells people to get to the point. He doesn't really have a problem telling people to stick where the sun don't shine. This even applies if you're a government official or his employer. He will call out things that he deems immoral. However, this doesn't mean that he won't do immoral things himself. The only difference is that he's got to be able to justify it to himself. This brings up an important question on if Crane is a good man or not. Crane is a complicated protagonist. I believe he tries to be a good person. However, his missions lead to him doing immoral things, such as lying to people he meets, as well as putting others at risk. A lot of the bad stuff that happens to the people in the tower occurs because of his actions. However, he justifies a lot of this as a means to an end. This ultimately falls apart once he realized his mission and the people he was working for had no goal to actually help people. Without being able to justify his actions, Crane starts to try and make up for the pain he had caused. Crane doesn't really make any of his own decisions. He spends a lot of the time just following orders and letting others make decisions for him. However, throughout the game, Crane starts to slowly make his own decisions, starting from small ones to ultimately big ones. This eventually leads to the end of the main story where he finally decides to make his own decision, and that decision is to stay. I believe that Crane doesn't think he is a good man. He doesn't pretend to be. He seems to accept that he's done terrible things, but what makes him compelling is that he keeps trying anyways. Not for redemption necessarily, but because he believes that others are worth fighting for. Beyond the emotional depth, Crane is also physically and mentally a force to be reckoned with. He takes on missions that no one else would dare attempt, blowing up buildings, outpacing volatiles, surviving countless encounters that should have killed him. But he's not just brawn, he is calculating and brutal when he needs to be. When he kills Tahir, he doesn't do it out of anger, but out of cold pragmatism. He basically tells Tahir that he should let him suffer and bleed out in a painful manner. But then he slits Tahir's throat, because you're not the kind of loose end you leave behind. It's a brutal tactical decision. Crane can be ruthless when situations demand it. However, I don't think he needed much pushing after Jade's death. Now let's contrast that with his final confrontation with Rais. Crane wins, and instead of doing the same thing he did with Tahir, he lets Rais know he lost. Crane wants him to feel it. That restraint isn't necessarily weakness, it's him proving a point. Rais spent the entire game pushing Crane to make a decision. And in these final moments, Crane eventually makes up his own mind that he won't listen to Rais, he won't give him that satisfaction. It isn't weakness, it's defiance. And here's the funny thing, Rais isn't necessarily wrong. Crane does spend a lot of time following orders from the GRE, from others in the tower, from Jade, from other people around him. And Rais calls him out on this more than once. He isn't completely wrong. But by the end, that changes. Crane begins making choices, however small, for himself, and his final decision to stay in Harran is entirely his own. It's the combination of everything Crane had been through. He went from being a soldier to someone who actually cared about the people within the city. He grew attached, he changed. So in some ways, he made a massive sacrifice for his own freedom to try and help the remaining survivors within the city. In the following DLC, Crane becomes the embodiment of the phrase, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." He's still an unstoppable force, but this time it's different. He is no longer following someone else's orders. He is following his own sense of what is right, and in doing so, he pushes himself to the absolute limit. But every step he takes only leads to him deeper into despair. He's trying to save people again, trying to find a cure, trying to find hope, but hope is in short supply. Every time hope is presented to Crane, it ultimately gets taken away. He finds the people who are immune, yet they won't help him because he has to gain their trust. He does everything that he can to help them, but along the way, people betray him or things don't work out. And in his attempt to fix things, Crane ends up facing the darkest consequences of all, whether he becomes the monster or dies trying. Both endings reflect a man who gave everything, and still lost. The canon ending is him not setting off the nuke, but fighting the mother to take the cure. However, here's the problem. Crane lets his emotions take over, just like he had with Jade. Crane chose an emotional option, and in return, it would cost the world. It's tragic because by this point, Crane isn't just the good soldier anymore. He's someone who tried to be better, but the world he lives in doesn't reward good intentions. It punishes them. No matter what Crane chooses, his story ends pretty miserably. He either dies and in the process kills all of his friends, the people that he's been fighting for this entire time, or he leaves with the cure, with some actual hope, but then it turns out that he's just doomed the rest of the world. And sure, we know some of his friends live, like Spike, but there's a good chance that the rest of them all died. And by the end of the story, in one way or another, he becomes a monster. Or better yet, a beast. That was probably so cheesy, oh my god.
Tower, this is Jade. Get sickbay ready. Got a guy with a bad head wound and a bite on one arm.
Oh shit, Amir's hurt?
No, Amir is gone. But I'm bringing in someone who might still survive.
One of us?
We'll see.
Jade is the first real friendly face we meet in Harran. She embodies what it means to be a fighter, metaphorically and literally. Jade was a kickboxer before the city got locked down, and she was pretty good at it. She went by the nickname The Scorpion, and was notorious. She is probably the second most famous survivor in Harran, right next to Rais. She, throughout the game, is viewed as an equal to Crane. She is the only one in the tower who is nearly as capable as him. Although maybe not as skilled as Crane in some ways, her knowledge of the land and her determination is what puts her on equal footing. Her relationship with Crane is one of respect and admiration. Crane proves himself to her by facing things that others deem too dangerous, things that she would do herself if she had to. It's a bit unclear if she had romantic feelings towards Crane, however, it's clear that she did trust him and care for him. She also trusted him even after Crane lied to her and betrayed her trust, even when she kind of deemed him responsible for her brother's death. And this can be seen all in her final moments. She is also one of the most level-headed leaders of the tower. unlike her younger brother, who was seeking glory and to try and make himself as useful as possible. Or, unlike the other official leader, Brecken, who is very passionate yet hesitant to act. Jade is the one who is capable of holding her own, physically and mentally. Well, that was until her brother's death. When she finds out what happened to her brother, she goes off the rails and becomes reckless. She leaves, taking on dangerous missions by herself. She avoids talking to Crane. However, this recklessness would eventually lead to her being captured by Rais. She was bitten, and she had a choice to make. To either let Crane turn, or to die herself. Crane refused to make a decision, and to take it for himself. And while the infection was making him lose his mind, she took the opportunity to save his life, giving up hers in return. Jade knew that Crane surviving was for the better good. She in her own way had nothing left to really live for. Her last remaining bit of family was already gone, so if her death could mean something and save lives, that is what she would do. Born prematurely, she wasn't expected to survive. But she did. She fought her way through life, against the odds, every step of the way. And even in her final moments, infected and fading, she did what she always did. She fought.
Watch this.
Oh, Raheem.
You goddamn stupid fucking kid!
Raheem is one of the most memorable characters from Dying Light, especially for the little bit of screen time that he actually has. Raheem honestly doesn't actually spend much time on screen with Crane, so why is he so remembered and so loved? Raheem was a native of Harran, spending his life there until the outbreak occurred. He did have plans to leave the country and go to America, but the outbreak occurred only a day or so before he actually planned to leave. When we first meet Raheem, he doesn't trust Crane, and in a funny way, his distrust is valid, as Crane isn't who he says he is. Another thing to take note of is how he makes a remark to Crane about being too young to be the leader. This statement is where we jump into Raheem's biggest flaw, and is ultimately what leads to his death. We never get a direct age for Raheem, but he's referred to as the kid by nearly everyone in the tower, and is treated as such. He's kind of locked into the tower, however, unlike the other civilians who enjoy the protection, he wants to be out in the field doing good. However, the group doesn't let him leave due to his age. Raheem is actually very smart, so he spends a lot of his time using his intelligence to help the group. His biggest and most ambitious idea was to blow up the skyscraper with a large amount of infected with inside. However, this idea was dismissed repeatedly, which got to him massively. Raheem's biggest problem is that everyone who is close to him, or that he respects, are all doing these dangerous and amazing things, while he sits around and does nothing. I mean, Raheem's older sister is a world champion kickboxer. The leader of the tower, Brecken, is keeping the group together and teaches them how to move through the city and survive. There are lots of people who are all contributing something to the group. Raheem felt like he wasn't reaching his potential, and wasn't contributing anything worthwhile. He potentially could have survived if Crane never showed up. I believe that Crane was the metaphorical straw that broke the camel's back. Crane is insanely talented and successful at his missions. He does things that no one else believes is possible. This was just another person showing Raheem that he isn't doing enough. That is why he eventually goes out by himself with his friend. Raheem wants to prove himself. He wants to show the group that he is valuable. We can see glimpses of this when Crane talks to him on the roof. He is drunk and clearly not feeling well. He tears up the representation of the future, showing that he is losing hope. He nearly literally goes over the edge, and if Crane wasn't there, he would have fallen. Just a little bit of foreshadowing. However, that is the thing, there were signs. Raheem embodies what it means to be ambitious and young. He has an idealized version of how things should be. He is overly confident in his abilities, and it doesn't help that he actually is quite gifted and talented, but this just feeds into his beliefs. He shows what it means to be a young person who believes he can do more to help. However, he is never allowed to do so. The reason why he goes with his friend is for two main reasons. The first is to do some actual good, as destroying the nests would make life a lot easier for a lot of people. The second aspect is due to the fact that he wants to be there. He wishes to prove himself, to show the group that he is capable, and that he can be trusted to get the job done. In some ways, he did do that, however, at the cost of his own life. He also showed that he stood on his beliefs. He got bit, and when he thought he was going to die, he decided that he was going to take as many infected out with him. Even when Crane shows up and he knows that he isn't doing well, he dismisses Crane and encourages him to go on without him. The sad part is that Raheem might have never really known that his plan worked, as he might have faded before he heard the explosions or Crane's celebration. Raheem's death could have been avoided. No one can truly be blamed for his death except for his own ambition, However, if his sister and Brecken allowed him to do more, he might have never gone by himself. Even if Crane agreed to go with him, his chances of survival would have probably been much higher. But he was left to feel like an outsider, with a desire to live up to the people around him, which ultimately led to his death. Most notably, both sacrificed their lives for something greater than themselves. There's also something very poetic between Raheem and Jade, as their fates are very similar. They both get infected and turn, and they both sadly died by Crane's hands.
No, forget it, I'm not doing it.
I hear no true conviction in your voice, Crane. You have not yet made your choice, I can tell. Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man and save the maiden? Go and think about it.
Rais is an interesting villain, and he's the big bad in the base game. He was a former GRE agent turned warlord. His whole philosophy is that only the strong survive. This can be seen in his actions. He rules through fear and control, hoarding artisan and exploiting the weak. Rais represents what Crane could have become, a man who gave up his humanity to seize power in a ruined world. He manipulates people, stages brutal public executions, and forces survivors into slavery under the guise of order. Despite all of this though, he is a very one-dimensional villain. His motives aren't too hard to understand, he just kind of seeks power and control. He enjoys the apocalypse and the power in which it gave him. I do believe more could have been explored with his character, especially with his brother's death, as I'm sure he has some emotion under there. But in a lot of ways, he's just kind of a sociopath. The GRE, also known as the Global Relief Effort, are the ones who send Crane into Harran. They plan to secretly use the virus to make weapons, and the GRE treats human lives as disposable. They lie to Crane, abandon the city, and ultimately prioritize control over salvation. They represent systemic evil, a faceless bureaucracy that hides behind good intentions while doing horrific things. They show that sometimes the worst villains aren't individuals, but institutions. And the sad thing is, the GRE never actually truly gets beaten. Sure, they don't get what they want, but their organization doesn't get destroyed, doesn't get pulled apart, they just kind of have a massive setback. The mother is the mysterious leader of the cult. Out of all the villains, she is the most interesting and fleshed out. She genuinely wants to protect her people and the world, but at a massive cost. She shows what it means to be desperate and what guilt can do to a person. She was desperate and thus drank a mysterious chemical that changed her into a monster, that led to her killing the survivors within her group. She lives with this guilt and tries to help other survivors to make up for what she had done. She isn't evil in the traditional sense. Her intentions are good. She truly wants to stop the spread of the virus and protect humanity. However, as more and more horrible things happen to her and her followers get slaughtered, she ultimately realizes that there's no cure and no point on continuing on. The best thing she could do is destroy everyone in the city to wipe out the infected so it cannot spread. She arguably isn't the villain in this story. In a lot of ways, she wasn't wrong. They might have been able to save the world if Crane set off the nuke instead of deciding to leave. And had she maybe explained herself a bit better, and Crane listened a little bit more, who knows, they might have agreed that ending the suffering of everyone would have been the best thing. Okay, before we talk about the pros and cons, I wanted to quickly talk about some of the DLC and bonus content. Besides the main DLC that continues the story, the rest are pretty mediocre. They aren't anything really special. A lot of them are just expansions for cosmetics, which some definitely look cool, but they really don't add much to the base game. The most interesting out of all of them is probably going to be Bozark's Horde. I've never been able to pronounce that. In this game mode, players are invited to go to the Harran Stadium location and test their strength in a series of challenges. You're basically fighting for your life through waves and waves while basically a mysterious psychopath called Bozark taunts you. It's honestly one of the most entertaining DLCs as the main villain is interesting and it just kind of mixes things up. There's some variety to it. You can either do this by yourself or with friends. The second most interesting is probably the prison, which is a decent challenge that is not to be taken lightly. It's similar to a lot of the other DLCs where it's kind of a time trials thing, but more focused on combat. This section was probably the one I revisited the most. It's probably one of the most fun I had on one of these smaller DLCs. It's just really action-packed and you kind of just get to fight a whole variety of enemies. It is also the most unfair with how difficult it is. However, it really does reward you at the end, so that is a plus, and some of the stuff you can get is pretty decent. So you get paid for your efforts. The rest of the DLCs are just kind of like challenge rooms, and honestly, they are a little disappointing. Or they're just not catered to me. Okay, let's talk about what Dying Light does so well. The first thing we have to talk about is what made Dying Light so rememberable. That being the parkour. The use of parkour in Dying Light in the environment in which the game was set is the best combination of environment and skills. The parkour is a key and fundamental part of the gameplay and can be felt wherever you are within the city. It is also noticeable when you are not in the city. The parkour is a key part of the game, as your goal isn't always to fight the infected, sometimes the smartest choice is to run for your life. It's also really fun and also challenging to run from roof to roof and kind of learning what you're capable of and what you aren't. The basic parkour challenges you can run across the map are actually quite challenging, but they're challenging in a way that it's difficult, but it's still really enjoyable. What makes Dying Light's parkour system even more compelling is how it encourages vertical exploration. Most zombie games confine you to the streets, but in Dying Light it encourages you to stick to the roofs, as it's one of the only few areas that are pretty much safe for normal people. The vertical freedom of Sector Zero also kind of creates a constant sense of tension and opportunity. You're always thinking one step ahead, looking for the next ledge, pole, or zipline, because one wrong step could mean the end. Now let's talk about the environment a bit. The design of Harran is the perfect environment for this parkour system. The slums are a perfect introduction. The rundown environment is a perfect playground for players. All the huts that are close by each other make it perfect for players to jump from roof to roof. The layout of Sector Zero is also a great environment and different enough that it feels like a new place to explore. The NPCs in the environment are also really well detailed. The best example of this is characters who create their own weaponry. If you look at their arms, they have a bunch of scars, most likely from making experimental weapons in their backyard. Because, you know, it's not like that ever goes wrong. The combat in Dying Light is extremely enjoyable yet challenging. In the early game, fighting seems like a hopeless cause as the infected are too tough and you are better off just running. Then, you eventually get enough weapons and skills to kill the infected with ease, yet humans are still a challenge. The progression system for the combat in this game feels natural. Every step you make feels great because you finally realize you can handle a certain challenge. But when you learn that you can handle a certain challenge, a new one's introduced, kind of setting you back. It feels natural. And as you learn more, you get better. The combat in Dying Light is some of the most challenging yet enjoyable, which is very hard for a lot of game studios to pull off. They either make it too easy or too challenging, and they struggle to find that nice middle ground. Dying Light does it perfectly. I'd say Dying Light 2's combat was a little bit too easy, and it was something that took away from the sequel. The moveset as well has enough variety that the game doesn't get repetitive, yet it isn't too much that you get overwhelmed, unlike the sequel where you ended up just using the same 5 moves every time. In Dying Light, you use pretty much everything they give you. Seeing we're speaking about the combat, let's speak about the weapons. The weapons in Dying Light are some of the most enjoyable in any zombie media. The basics are nothing special, but with the ability of crafting and being able to upgrade each item, it can let you create some really interesting weapons. Weapon degradation also makes you value specific weapons more than others. If you're anything like me, when you play a game with limited resources, you just end up hoarding them right up till the end, and even then you don't necessarily use them because you think you're going to need them later. However, with Dying Light, even though I did hoard weapons, they didn't seem so rare that I never not used them. I mostly saved them for special occasions. Crafting in Dying Light is also not ridiculously easy as well. In a lot of games, modding and upgrading your weapons can be a little too easy. However, in Dying Light, it is really challenging, so whenever you actually make a weapon, especially a rare one, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Also, they're just a lot of fun to use. Okay, let's talk about boss fights, and I'll be comparing them to Dying Light 2. The boss fights in Dying Light, most notably in the following DLC, are some of the most enjoyable yet challenging bonus content you can play through. Each boss is unique and yet some variety of infected. You may think you have an OP weapon, but these guys will show you how wrong you are. Especially the Holler. Howler? I can't pronounce it, it's this word. That dude is nearly indestructible and costs me a bunch of ammo. The creativity in the characters really shine through, and it's a pleasure to see. So much so that it brings up the question on why wasn't this in Dying Light 2. The boss fights in that game were just stronger versions of the same enemy each time. There was no creativity, so for that reason, Dying Light really does outshine its predecessor in this department. One of the most unique and enjoyable things I got to experience was getting to play as an infected, and then getting to invade other players' games, which I never did when I first played back in the day. The gameplay as an infected is super easy to get the hang of, and the power you feel while playing as one of them is insane. You can leap and travel across the map within like a minute or two. You are almost impossible to detect in the dark, which makes stalking your prey super easy, and you can have some real fun scaring other players while hiding in the dark. Now, although it's fun to play as an infected, there is one big issue. When it happens to you, it is extremely infuriating, especially when you're by yourself. It is nearly impossible to fend them off. The most reliable tactic is just the UV lights, and if you're like me, you just kind of hoarded them the entire game, so when people joined by the time I was on the following DLC, I just threw them everywhere. Despite this though, as an extra to the game mode, it was probably one of the best and most enjoyable things I got to experience. Despite this though, it was probably one of the most fun things I got to do while playing Dying Light, and I'm really glad that I revisited and tried it out. Dying Light absolutely leans more into the fear aspect of the zombie apocalypse. This can be seen with how creepy the infected are, however, there is so much more dread and horror throughout the story. I've already spoken about the philosophy and how nothing that the main character does seems to be enough, but there is other forms of horrific aspects that can be experienced throughout the game. One of the creepiest aspects of Dying Light is when it suddenly becomes nighttime. You can barely see anything, but you can hear all the horrific noises throughout the city, and you can hear the volatiles searching for prey. It's something that really puts you on the edge of your seat, and when they do find you, your heart just starts pumping as you run for your life as they scream at you. And they're all kind of connected, as they all kind of learn where you are once one of them has locked onto you. If you don't make this experience any better, there's nothing like turning off all your HUD indicators, and all you can just hear is the screams of the volatiles chasing you, and you can't use the map to locate where they are. There's so many scary things, but I want to talk about things that creeped me out the most, and what actually kind of scared me. For the latter, it must be the infected that just self-destruct. They're not scary inherently, but the number of times an infected was facing the other way, and I would hit it not realizing it was going to explode in my face, it always made my heart skip a beat. Or another example of this is when you're walking through a close quarters hallway, and one of these explosive dicks just pop their heads around the corner just to say hi, and out of instinct, you swing at them, and it's the worst thing you can do, and you die, and it could have all been avoided, but you panicked. Another thing that really gave me the creeps was the infected children. The crying they emit is enough to creep anyone out. When they nurse you and the screams come out of them, it's horrifying. And the way you deal with it's not much better. Also, just the concept of infected children and getting to actually see it is not something that you really get to see much in zombie media. Normally we only see skeletons. I think the only other time I've seen a child be infected in zombie media is in Telltale's The Walking Dead in the very first season. Seeing we're talking about the infected, another thing that's really kind of horrifying is when you realize that the people who are infected aren't necessarily fully gone. This can be seen with Crane when he's losing his mind. He has some form of consciousness before he is injected with antizin and realizes he isn't attacking someone infected but a living person. And you may think it's just because the infection wasn't fully there. But here's the thing, bits of humanity can also be seen in the infected, with the way they can occasionally react when you hit them. They'll beg for mercy or back away. And some of them even speak. There is proof that they may not be fully gone, they may be trapped within a broken mind and unable to control their actions, or they may be aware but unable to stop themselves from hurting others, while their bodies decay. Finally, I want to talk about some of the body horror we get to experience, the biggest example of this being the mother. The mother is actually the thing that creeps me out the most. Her reveal actually made me kind of recoil, kind of like how Crane did when she was getting up and close in his face. It truly unnerves me, and it's a little disturbing to know that there is a human in there, forever changed, forced to look like the monster of this world. However, unlike the other monsters who may not actually fully be conscious and may just be semi-conscious, we know that the mother is fully there, and she's fully aware of what happened to her. That is, until it turns nighttime and she loses all control. The body horror is also extremely prominent with one of the traders who is forced into becoming a volatile. His screams alone for mercy are just truly messed up, knowing that he's still there in some way, and he's begging for death. The last thing I want to talk about before we go into the negatives is the community. The community amongst Dying Light is some of the most passionate members and the nicest I've gotten to interact with while making this video. Which is really weird within a gaming community, as a lot of people kind of like to gatekeep it, and I've had this experience a few times with certain communities that I've interacted with while making other videos. However, the Dying Light community was some of the nicest people I got to interact with. When I was starting my new run, it wasn't uncommon for people just to randomly join and drop decent loot for me, unprompted, or show me secrets I never knew about. Everyone I met was willing to help me out in one way or another. I mean, I kind of cheated the trust system with the Dying Light the following, as I had a guy just join in and drop a bunch of stuff off that I could redeem. So I was basically at full trust with them within an hour. Which is definitely not how you're meant to play, and I don't recommend it, but when in Rome. I also want to mention that I wasn't the only one there when this guy was dropping stuff off. And in a lot of games, a lot of people would just go and hoard and take whatever they could. But myself and this guy made sure that we got an equal amount of whatever this guy was giving us. We took turns where we weren't rude or impatient. We took turns, we just waited patiently, and we didn't rush in or steal anything from the other. And I gotta say, it was one of the first times that I've ever experienced this within any game or community. And as someone who doesn't play a lot of multiplayer games, it was really nice to experience. Okay, time for people to potentially bite my head off once again. I will say that I have a lot of less negative things to say about Dying Light than I do the sequel. First things first, let's talk about the graphics. Graphically speaking, Dying Light is not that appealing. The world is dull, and thematically speaking, that works for the story. However, I have always found the environment to be very bland in most locations. This is mostly just due to the color palette, and it could be worse for myself as I am colorblind, so maybe it's duller than it's actually meant to be. The game does take a more burnt orange style, while the sequel kind of has a darker blue look to it. I personally prefer the darker blue style more than the burnt orange, and overall the sequel was a massive improvement for the color palette and lighting. I want to make this clear though, it's not me hating on the environment and the design of certain things. The environment in general is really well done. In most locations there is something going on or a story being told. However, graphically I believe the game could have been a bit better, but this is also just a personal taste I believe. The following DLC does add to the story, however there is one big problem. The game relies heavily on a movement system. However, the new environment doesn't cater to that said core mechanic. So to make up for that, they decide to introduce driving. This mechanic at times can feel very clunky. However, this does happen when you introduce something that the game wasn't originally intended for. It always feels just slightly out of place, and the driving can feel like that at times. It isn't horrible, but it is noticeable. However, for something that was added in after the fact, I do believe that it was decently fleshed out, and it was kind of enjoyable to kind of upgrade certain mechanics of your vehicle. I just personally thought it was a shame that they kind of lent away from their core mechanic of the parkour system. But at the end of the day, it is bonus content, you don't have to play it if you don't want. One thing that can be off-putting at times is how clunky and jarring the movement can be. The movement of the character itself is very smooth. However, looking around can just be a little harsh at times. This isn't necessarily a fully bad thing, it just depends on which game you prefer. Dying Light's parkour favoured a harsh, rougher kind of movement system, and it embraced a more chaotic nature of parkour, forcing you to make very quick decisions in a very short time. Dying Light 2's movement favoured a much slower and smoother pace, trying to give players more time to make a decision. Personally, I enjoy Dying Light 2's parkour and movement more for its smoothness, but it's personal preference. Sadly, like many games, Dying Light's side quests are a bit mediocre. The objectives are normally pretty repetitive. A lot of the time it's run here, defend this person, clear this area out, or find this thing. These things can definitely become a bit boring, and they're kind of essential to leveling up at times, which can make them feel like a necessity that you don't really want to take part in. I will say, besides the basic side quests, there are some really interesting ones that expand upon the world. For example, we can help the guy who gets his hand cut off when we first meet Rais, and we can learn more about these side characters we meet throughout the main story. And it can make the world feel more alive and make these people more interesting. Okay, the biggest and most prominent complaint I have with Dying Light. The story is pretty lackluster. The characters, despite the few standouts and the ones I've mentioned, like Crane, Jade, and Raheem, the rest of them are pretty one-dimensional. Many of the characters we meet lacked depth or meaningful development. Their arcs were often rushed or cut short, and most of them felt more like tools to progress the plot rather than fully realized individuals. I think the biggest example of this has to be the villain Rais. Now, I've already gone through his character, but I want to point out that he feels like an over-the-top stereotype of an evil villain. His motivations felt thin, and his interactions with Crane lacked the complexity needed to make him feel truly compelling as an adversary. All these issues arguably were fixed in Dying Light 2. The stakes felt much more personal and heavier in the sequel, especially with the villain Waltz having a personal relationship with Aiden. The choices also feel weightier in the sequel, as the player himself is actually making those choices. They weren't following a linear story. The pacing in the sequel was so much better than the original as well. The pacing in Dying Light just feels really jarring. There are so many moments when you think you're building up to something big. However, suddenly you are just there, or one moment you're doing one thing and turning around to do a completely different thing. It feels chaotic and not really well put together. All these things kind of add up to the story being a bit forgettable. I know personally I did not remember a single story beat a month after I played the game, besides Raheem's death. I also only really remembered blowing up the smiley face into the building and the fight with Rais on the rooftop. The rest of it I mostly forgot about, which is disappointing. I truly believe that the story could have been a little bit more fleshed out or worked on a bit more. And I think that's what kind of put me off of the game after I played it. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, I think it was the most fun I had with actual gameplay. But I'm one of those people who truly enjoy a good story, and I didn't feel like Dying Light kind of catered to that. And maybe that's why I personally like Dying Light 2 more. And I know for a lot of people that's kind of an outrageous claim, as I know a lot of people truly like Dying Light. And the way I see it is, if you're there to have fun with your friends and actually experience a gameplay that's more chaotic or explore an open world, Dying Light is for you. If you kind of want an experience that's catered more towards the story, I would definitely recommend playing Dying Light 2 more. And maybe that's why. They both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses. Or maybe I'm wrong, you can tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I just don't comprehend how complex the story of Dying Light is, and maybe that's why it just went over my head or something. I don't know, you let me know. Okay, conclusion time. I'll be honest, I never really understood the hype for Dying Light when it first came out. I always agreed it was a great game, but it just never pulled me in the way it did for so many others. In fact, it actually took me about a year after release before I finally sat down and played it. It just didn't grab my attention right away. But now, after all this time and coming back and actually diving into the story, I kind of get it. It's been an enjoyable experience. Dying Light introduced something fresh to the zombie genre, it re-energized it, and yes, for those who watched my Dying Light 2 video, that is what I was meant to say in the beginning. I apologize, I misspoke, please forgive me. But back to my point, Dying Light has some of the best gameplay mechanics in any zombie game I've ever played. The story might not reach the emotional heights of other narrative-driven titles, but the way its mechanics are woven into the experience and the sheer passion from its developers really shine through. The voice acting is solid, the world is immersive, and most importantly, the game is just fun. And sometimes, that's all a game really needs to be great.
Where am I?
I'm done. 9,500 words later, mild psychosis and many sleepless nights later, we make it to the end. This video took a lot of effort and something I've been working on for the last month non-stop. Originally, I never planned on making this video, even after the success of my Dying Light 2 video. But with the fact we have nearly hit 1,000 subscribers and many of you were asking for this video, I couldn't not do it. I also want to mention that it's insane to me that we nearly hit 1,000 subscribers. It's insane that nearly 1,000 people find me entertaining enough, or the things that I make entertaining enough, to follow and stick around to see what else I make. So for that, I'm truly thankful as always. Anyways, with all that sappiness and all you guys asking for it, I figured, why not, I'll make this video. And I'll tell you what the problem with why not is that this game was so much harder to kind of break down than the second one, but I'm glad I did it nonetheless. So I hope you enjoyed, and like always, remember to stay safe, live life to the fullest, and peace.